What do you get when you combine two top-notch sopranos, one world-class pianist, and one superstar cellist? The answer is awesomeness, and a concert that is full of grit and grace. This Sunday, February 2nd at 2 p.m. at the University of Manitoba's Desautels Concert Hall, sopranos Monica Huisman and Tracy Dahl, cellist Minna Rose Chung, and pianist Laura Loewen will take to the stage to perform music of Dvorak, Strauss, Mozart, Villa-Lobos, and others in a concert called Grit and Grace. Having returned from their Atlantic Coast tour, this concert on Sunday is very much a homecoming and promises to be a concert that will be both evocative and transformative. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I am joined by the performers for this concert. Monica, that was just great. What was that? Can you tell us what you just performed?
Oh, Morgen by Strauss.
Yes. Wonderful. So the four of you did a tour of the East Coast. How many concerts were there on the tour? Where did you perform? And can you talk a little bit about how that tour came together?
Well, Winnipeg is a fantastic place, and our faculty is really, really fantastic. And part of our mandate is to make sure that that we get to know people in other universities, and they get to know the incredible work that we're doing here. So we go out and we visit universities and do concerts and master classes just so that they can get to know us, especially for the students that are thinking about a master's degree, that they realize that this would be a fantastic place. So this was our recruiting trip. We started in Halifax. We went up to Mount Allison University. Mm-hmm. We were at Dalhousie in Halifax, and then we went to St. John's to Memorial University of Newfoundland.
That's great. And how did who paid for the tour? Was it the University of Manitoba or?
Our university supports this.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so it was that. This quartet. It's not new. I was doing some research. You did a concert in Kelowna in 2017 for Opera Kelowna. You're all on faculty at the University of Manitoba. What made you all decide to perform together?
Oh, I think Monica and Minna have to start this because that began with you two and your pairing in Brazil, I think.
Oh, yeah.
with Laura, that's right.
Yeah.
So I have a Project Rio thing in Brazil, and Brazil is a mecca for cellists for some reason. There's something in the air. And so I go to Rio International Cello Encounter, and when I started working at U of M, the fantastic dean at the time, Edmund Dahl, really supported this initiative. And so when the Rio Festival realized that they would get university sponsorship for us to go and teach, they asked how many teachers can come. And so what started out as, who was it, just like a few of us turned into 5, and they fell in love with Monica because, I mean, who wouldn't? And there's this famous Bacchianas number 5, and that always closes out the festival. And so Monica came with us, and we had a harrowing flight and a little bit difficulty actually arriving into Rio de Janeiro. But when Monica went to the Botanical Gardens the very next day to sing, she fell in love with Brazil. And Laura had always been coming and playing so many cello recitals from renowned cellists all over the world. And so we found rep. And Monica likes having cello around, so I'm happy to oblige.
So Tracy, how did you get involved?
I think I'm just the fourth wheel.
I doubt it.
Hardly.
Well, it takes 4 wheels to make a car. Absolutely.
I'm happy to go along for the ride. To go along for the ride.
I mean, one thing that's fantastic about working at the university is that you're surrounded by colleagues that are amazing, and we love performing together, and we love doing stuff. And so we've all been performing together in different ways before, and so this is just kind of what we love to do.
Well, I giggle because the three of us were talking about doing a West Coast tour, which was our initial Grit and Grace tour. And I'm always hanging out with Minna, and she's in conversation. Well, I'll come.
Oh, yeah. I think I invited myself.
And my motto is everything's better with cello. That's how this goes.
It's the bacon of...
Yes, exactly.
I was looking at the poster that Minna sent me, and I was super intrigued. The concert's called Grit and Grace. And then also on the poster, you've got the silhouette of the woman from the very famous We Can Do It poster. Made famous.
Rosie.
Rosie the Riveter, from World War II. That imagery combined with this idea of grit and grace, what was the thinking there? It sounds really interesting.
How didn't you, Minna, wasn't the Rosie your idea? Like we were coming up with names for it, and I think Grit and Grace was being thrown around just as because who knows who is Grit and who is Grace. It kind of changes through the whole thing between all 4 of us. But I remember, I think it was you that came up with the idea for the poster, and we all went, "Oh, that's perfect."
Yeah, and then of course my dear friend John Funk put the design together, and for this last trip going to the Atlantic coast, I fell in love with the jelly bean houses, and so he put that inside the silhouette, and it just
Yeah.
it made the tour feel so much more exciting, So I really appreciate all the talent we have in Winnipeg. So it's really great.
I was looking at the list of composers that is on the poster, and one of the things that struck me was you're doing music from American composers: Amy Beach, Andre Previn, Tom Capullo. Am I saying Chipulo? Yeah. And so, who's a composer? Obviously, I'd never heard of. I was listening to his songs this morning. They are super excellent. Can you talk about him and what songs of his you're going to be doing?
So I'm singing the Tom Chipulo set, or two of the song cycle. One's called Crickets, and one is called Touch Me. And they're not by the same poet. They move around. He has an incredible language for, his pieces can be quite funny. He has one about the pocketbook, and it's about having, spending all your month's rent on buying this special bag. And it's incredibly funny. He's got another one about getting your hair done or something. But this set, I found, a student brought one of the songs called Crickets, which I say it's almost like an environmental plea to people to listen as how it ends. But when I went into the set, further into the set, the third song in the set has a line about 40 years ago. Some 40 years ago. And I went, my students can't sing this, but I can. And it's the poetry is so, like, I was typing it out the other day because we're going to have surtitles for the concert so people can see the words and the translations of the poems. And there is no period in the entire poem. It is just a comma after comma after comma, and it's like a stream of consciousness while you're outside, and a revelation of your life and what has happened to you and what you've forgotten, what you cherish, what you learn from nature. It's incredibly deep poetry. I really love the set. It's really beautiful.
And the relationship of piano and voice, and it's so interesting because it's so interwoven and fluid, and it's like a long-time marriage, where you're finishing each other's sentences and neither of you can say what you have to say without the other one.
Yeah, I was going to ask about his piano writing. I heard the song, so I think it's called Late Summer, I think. Yeah. So I was reading about him. He comes, like, his whole family are all jazz musicians, and I was listening to the accompaniment in the piano this morning, and I'm like, man, there's some like jazz harmonies and voicings there. What's it like to play the piano part? Are you finding that as well?
Well, I've played quite a bit of his music, and it's incredibly detailed. I think there are very few notes on the page that don't have like 3 or 4 instructions on what you're supposed to do with them. And I've talked with him before. He's fantastic. But yeah, it's a real amalgam of a lot of different styles. So there's absolutely jazz and a feeling of improv, but within a very, very tight structure. And you have to be willing to just go, and you have to be willing to be uncomfortable lots of times because it's always not clear what he wants, but it's so fantastic.
Yeah.
And he takes you places that nobody else does.
Yeah, they're beautiful songs. They remind me of Barber songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're great. I love Amy Beach's music, and I'm aware that she wrote these 3 pieces for cello, voice, and piano. And I got to ask, Minna, are those on the program? And if so, can you talk about them and describe them?
Yes, they are on the program, but we're just doing the first song. I really enjoy playing it because there's a lot of cello in it. And Laura was the one who told me that the cello line is the lover.
Well, that's what I think.
And I was like, I had no idea. It's very expressive playing, and it's so well balanced. But I'm going to hand it over to Monica because the text is actually sung in English?
It's in French.
Is it? Okay, so I don't really know. I just do a lot of the feeling.
My lover doesn't listen to me very well.
We're going to have a conversation.
We're going to have a conversation.
Is there a therapist in the room?
Well, this music is just therapy. Really, to sing it is therapy. The poetry is from Wolf. so Victor Hugo, Hugo Wolf, Victor Hugo, that was on my brain. Chanson d'amour. And like Laura said, it really is just a love story. But what resonates with me is the larger arc of the piece is those that sing also cry.
Okay.
And there's a lot in there if you unpack that, because the two emotions go hand in hand. So I'm speaking to my lover about singing, and you realize that, love can make you sing, but it also can make you cry. What I find very interesting about Amy Beach is she has synesthesia.
Yeah.
So she writes in color, and she wrote this, I think, what key is this in?
It's an E flat.
E flat, yes.
But it was originally in a different key, I think,
Yes,
for
and she
voice.
didn't like the coloring of it. So this is violet. I believe this is violet. And she had a friend of hers that transposed one of her pieces, and she didn't like the key because she didn't like the color. So it's quite fascinating when you listen to it, and it really is. I say it's the cello solo. Really, it's all about the cello in this piece. But it's quite a collaboration.
Yeah, all of those pieces are just, they're gorgeous. There's also music in the program by us Canucks. There's music of John Greer and Matthew Emery. What songs of theirs are you going to be doing, and can you describe them?
We're doing one of John Greer's songs of the Sarah Binks songbook. We're doing Hi Suki Ho Suki, which is basically a love ballad to a pig farmer.
I would expect nothing less from John Greer.
Extremely ecstatic.
Extremely ecstatic. Voyeurism in this case has really gotten out of hand.
Very much so. And then we're doing a piece called I've Got Faust Under My Skin, which is a combination of Schubert and Cole Porter, right? And arranged by John Greer and Mary Lou Follis, right?
Yeah. And further arranged with us because we needed cello, so we added cello. Right. And we think that John is going to realize that he should have done that all along.
Just left it as or added to it. What about the Matthew Emery?
We actually aren't performing a Matthew Emery this weekend. I think the one that we had set for it is a little on the somber side. And I think because of the tour we were on, and we were looking for things in the second half to kind of lift us up and have a bit more fun. We had a lot of grace already. We needed some more fun. So I think we decided to not go with the Matthew this time. But Matthew's writing, I remember the first time I heard, Laura, you have to help me with the title of this song that we've done together. It's from the same set.
From the same set.
It's from the same set. And I sang it at your song
At our Dream Big
conference. And I had heard the song once before, and I was like, I just want to know and learn that song. And it was one of the reasons I loved it, in fact, was the poetry and the setting of the poetry. And that's where we celebrate our composers, so we should, but they're using word and whose word inspired them. And if I could in this moment, because we're not doing it, it's not present for it in my mind, but it was a prairie poet, and it's using the prairie as this image of healing. And it was very poignant when we did it in that particular concert. A family member of ours had lost their son, and so it's a very heavy piece. So I think that in the case of going out and trying to, we wanted people to know about Canadian composers. We wanted them to know about our Manitoba composer, right? We wanted to celebrate John. So that's why we ended up doing the John pieces instead, John Greer's pieces.
We can come back and do the Emery sometime.
Yeah.
It really is amazing.
Happily,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so on the poster, you've got Dvorak listed. I think Dvorak, Song of the Moon from Rusalka. What Dvorak are you going to be doing?
Song to the Moon.
So one of probably many hits on the program. What do you love singing about it? Singing it.
Song to the Moon for me is a very old friend. I started off my career singing this piece and singing this character. And as I've grown through life, the aria for me has grown through life. And I feel like to me right now, it feels like a fine wine. It's the melody is hauntingly beautiful. the expressivity of Dvorak, and just how simple something so beautiful can be. Because the accompaniment really is like in our new concert hall, which is fantastic, and the lights go down. You can picture the moon. You can picture your heart, and I always say this. I say this at the lake too. You look at the moon and you think everybody on the planet can see the moon. So if you're missing somebody, you just say, just look up at the moon. Are we looking at the same moon? And in certain time zones, yes, you can be so far apart from each other, yet still be looking at the same thing. So it's poetry, it's the music.
Yeah. It's just
stunning.
Gorgeous. There's music on the program by composers who, Tracy and Monica, you're both very comfortable performing. Mozart and Strauss. I've interviewed a number of your students. Mozart and Strauss is always sort of front and center in many of your students' rep. Aside from the beauty of Mozart and Strauss's music, why does it suit the soprano voice so well?
Strauss wrote so well for the voice. He just understood the soprano voice and the differences between the voices. So Monica and I do not have the same sound. And so what's really lovely is that the songs that Monica sings, there's a whole array canon of those, and then there's another whole canon for me. And there are a few that we will both share, but for most part, it's just very clear to whom which song belongs. And they highlight and show off what that instrument does well, whether you're like a viola and a violin.
Do you think it helped that his wife was a singer?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you, like Rosenkavalier Trio, come on. Those three voices, that's just
It's
a remarkable experience.
Yeah,
to
it's
sing
better
that.
than anything. Yeah, absolutely. What about Mozart?
Well, I mean, I love Mozart, and happy belated birthday, Mozart. What I love about teaching Mozart is the technical tools that you gain. And if you can sing Mozart, truly, you can sing anything. Because it is that technically, it's just like scales. It's like learning your scales when you're a pianist. Like it's just, and it's such simple yet such complex music when you unpack it. But I think it's easier for younger students to learn it. Quite often the key signatures are more friendly. The time signatures are more friendly. It gets challenging always at the end of Mozart. If he has something that's challenging, he'll go, okay, let's do it again, and let's just do it a little bit higher and a little bit faster and a little bit longer.
With several more ornaments.
For me, it's called marathon training in my studio. So,
Minna, are you going to be doing any solo pieces on the program?
Yes, I'll be doing a piece by Ravel that was originally written for singers. So I'm stealing that one.
The habanera.
The habanera, and that's a very sultry song. And if you could smoke in the concert hall, you would want to. And the other one is a solo cello piece by Mignon, a Brazilian composer, which is also a lovely waltz. It's about the same time frame as like an aria or a short aria. So 3.5 minutes of little breaks to give the singer some breathing room, and Laura and I will take center stage and show what the cello can do.
That's fantastic. I was reading, there's also going to be a Q&A session after the concert about the art of planning a tour. Can you talk about that a bit? And is it geared towards students? And else, can you also talk about some of the points that you're going to be covering in that Q&A that you hope to touch on?
Well, a lot of our students, especially after we've done this, were like, how did you do this? How did you put this together? You know, how do you plan this? How do you travel so much? Like we did so much traveling and so much performing. And we hope that all of them are doing this. You know, a lot of our students go on after they graduate and they create little indie, you know, so many of the little indie opera programs and stuff are from our students, and they're doing really, really exciting work. And so we thought they would be interested for a Q&A just to talk, for us to talk about what we did, and maybe for them to share some of their ideas too.
Perfect. Monica, Tracy, Minna, and Laura, the concert on Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. at the Desautels Concert Hall at the University of Manitoba is going to be amazing. I would say good luck, but luck will have very little to do with it, so maybe I'll say good skill instead. Thanks so much for taking the time to drop by and talk to me today. And I understand you're going to perform one more song, so I'll let you take it away. That was so great. Again, thank you all for stopping by and performing for us today.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.